What if everything you're being told about Venezuela right now is a carefully constructed cover story? Headlines celebrate reopened airspace. News segments feature American Airlines executives discussing reconnecting families. The official narrative is one of diplomacy and normalization, but I've spent weeks following a paper trail that leads somewhere much darker. This isn't a story about renewed relations. It's a blueprint for the largest resource grab in modern history. It starts with a shocking fact. While the world was distracted by flight announcements, the U.S. government awarded $500 million in Venezuelan oil contracts to two companies with criminal convictions for bribing foreign officials. Let me walk you through exactly how this happened. This isn't speculation. This is a chain of events documented in court records, shipping data, and official filings, revealing a shocking new model of foreign policy. Our timeline begins in late 2025. On December 10th, the United States begins intercepting Venezuelan oil tankers in international waters, one by one. The Skipper, the Veronica, the Sajida, the Belawan. In total, 7 vessels are seized. One of them, the Belawan, was chased all the way to the coast of Iceland. Its crew was so desperate, they tried repainting it with a Russian flag mid-voyage. The official reason? Sanctions enforcement, a crackdown on a so-called dark fleet. But the scale was unprecedented. Then, on January 3rd, 2026, U.S. forces conducted a raid in Caracas. They detained President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, flying them to New York to face charges. The media framed it as a dramatic act of justice. The administration called it necessary. But here's the critical question few asked. Why then? And why with such overwhelming, simultaneous force against both the country's leader and its oil shipments? The answer becomes clear just days later. Because this was never solely about Maduro, it was about control. Venezuela, as you may know, sits on top of the world's largest proven oil reserves. We're talking about over 300 billion barrels. That's more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. An ocean of crude, suddenly in play. Now follow this. On January 9th, just 6 days after Maduro was taken, a meeting was convened at the White House. But this wasn't a meeting with diplomats or regional experts. This was a meeting with oil executives. The CEOs of Chevron, Shell, and Halliburton were there. And so were representatives from 2 lesser-known but powerful commodity trading firms, Vitol and Trafigura. At this meeting, President Trump presented a bold proposition. He announced that the U.S. had control of 50 million barrels of Venezuelan oil ready for sale. He promised a $100 billion opportunity to rebuild Venezuela's energy infrastructure and declared that the U.S. would manage Venezuela's oil industry for the foreseeable future. The market reacted quickly. Within a week, the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control issued special licenses for the sale of this oil, but only to 2 companies, Vitol and Trafigura. These firms had executives present in that White House meeting, securing contracts worth $500 million. This raises questions. Why these 2 companies? Why not major American oil firms with extensive regional experience? The plot thickens with lobbyist John Addison, who secured the deal for VTOL. Public records show he donated $6 million to Trump's 2024 re-election campaign. A $6 million donor lands a $250 million contract, a staggering return on investment. But it gets worse. Vitol and Trafigura have serious criminal records. In 2020, Vitol paid a $135 million penalty for a massive foreign bribery scheme, paying off officials in Ecuador, Brazil, and Mexico. In 2024, a senior Vitol trader pleaded guilty to bribing officials at Mexico's state-owned oil company. That same year, Vitol paid another $50 million for manipulating gasoline prices in California. Trafigura's record is equally troubling. In 2024, they pleaded guilty to violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, admitting to bribing Brazilian officials at Petrobras for over a decade, resulting in a fine of $126 million. The U.S. government chose these convicted felons to handle the sensitive sale of a sovereign nation's oil. This isn't a coincidence. It's a pattern. The administration was aware of these prosecutions. Senators warned about these companies before the licenses were granted, but their concerns were ignored. Now, where does the revenue from selling Venezuelan oil go? The administration claims it benefits both the Venezuelan people and American interests, but the reality is different. The funds are held in an offshore account in Qatar, not in the U.S. Through an executive order, President Trump designated this money as the sovereign property of Venezuela, under U.S. custody and control. This legal maneuver shields the funds from Venezuela's private creditors, who are owed billions. More importantly, it gives the White House sole discretion over access to this fund, with zero independent oversight. No congressional audits, no international monitoring. Who is behind the deals regarding Venezuela's oil? After Maduro's removal, Delcy Rodriguez, his vice president, took power. Ironically, she was sanctioned by the Trump administration in 2018 for undermining democracy and supporting Maduro's regime. Rodriguez was also a target of a DEA investigation into drug trafficking, labeled a priority target for her alleged involvement. The very person once accused of enabling narco-trafficking is now negotiating oil contracts as interim president. Her first major action? She swiftly enacted sweeping reforms to Venezuela's hydrocarbon laws, eliminating barriers for foreign companies to take over oil projects. An energy analyst at Rice University called it stunning, stating, "What the private sector had been asking for 10 years, they got in one day. Let's connect the dots. It's a perfect loop." Step 1. Seize the country's oil shipments to create an economic crisis. Step 2. Remove the head of state to create a political crisis. Step 3. Install a politically convenient successor. Step 4. Have that successor change the laws to favor foreign corporate interests. Step 5. Award lucrative contracts to those corporations, including ones with ties to political donors. Step 6. Control all revenue in an unauditable offshore account. Step 7. Flood the media with a secondary story, like reopened flights, to frame everything as a diplomatic success. This is exactly what's happening. On January 29th, the administration announced the reopening of airspace and the return of American Airlines flights. The narrative shifted to travel and families, while the oil contracts, criminal histories, and offshore accounts faded into the background. President Trump claimed the U.S. has already moved 50 million barrels of oil, worth roughly $2.5 billion. He asserts selling it will bring down oil prices incredibly. But for whom? This oil isn't going to the public market to lower your gas prices. It's being sold through private, secretive deals with 2 convicted firms. There's no transparency on sale prices, profit margins, or brokers' fees. The only certainty is the conflict of interest. This situation extends beyond Venezuela. What we are witnessing is not an isolated incident. It's a proof of concept, a new doctrine. The president has discussed resources in Greenland, threatened Canadian trade, and referenced Panama. The pattern is clear. Identify a resource-rich nation, apply maximum pressure, military, economic, or political, install cooperative leadership, rewrite the rules, and funnel wealth to private, friendly corporations. They hope you won't see this blueprint. They want you to focus on news of new flights to Caracas and think, things are getting back to normal. They rely on the complexity of commodity trading and offshore finance to distract you. But we cannot look away. If this model persists, it rewrites the rules of international engagement. Any resource-rich nation could become a target, replacing diplomacy with extraction and the rule of law with the law of the deal. What happens next? The script is already written. In the coming months, expect more American companies to announce ventures in Venezuela, press releases about job creation and infrastructure investment. The embassy will reopen. The narrative will be one of recovery and partnership. But you will know the truth. You will know this partnership was built on seized tankers, a kidnapped president, rewritten laws, and $500 million given to companies that bribe governments. You will know the profits sit in a Qatari bank account, controlled by one man with no oversight. This is the real story behind the headlines. It's about power, profit, and the erosion of accountability. When you see that American Airlines plane on the news, remember its true flight path. It's not just connecting two cities, it's flying over a hidden ocean of oil and an even deeper ocean of unanswered questions. They want you not to ask those questions. I urge you to demand answers. Share this information. Talk about it. In an age of distraction, paying attention is the most powerful act of resistance. This is not just about Venezuela, it's about what we allow to become normal and what happens next, wherever resources are found and power is unchecked.
Anatomy quiz. Question 1. Which part of the heart pumps oxygenated blood to the body? Follow and like the video. Answer. Left ventricle. Question 2. What is the hardest substance in the human body? Answer. Tooth enamel. Question 3. How many bones do adult humans have? Answer. 206. Question 4. What part of the brain regulates breathing and heartbeat? Answer. Medulla oblongata. Question 5. What do lungs absorb from the air? Write me the correct answer in comment. Question 6. Which blood vessels carry blood away from the heart? Answer. Arteries. Please follow me if you want like this video more. Question 1. What nutrient is most important for strong bones in older age? Vitamin D. Question 2. What is a good daily activity to keep joints flexible? Walking. Question 3. Which health check is essential after the age of 65? Blood pressure. Question 4. Which drink helps with hydration and health? Water. Question 5. What kind of food is best for heart health? Comment the right option. Question 6. Which habit can help prevent memory loss? Brain exercises. General knowledge quiz. Question 1. What is the only continent that has no desert? Follow me. Answer. Europe. Question 2. What is the hottest place on Earth? Answer. Death Valley. Question 3. Which animal has the largest eye in the animal kingdom? Answer. Giant squid. Question 4. What is the world's largest ocean? Answer. Pacific Ocean. Question 5. Which metal is lighter than water and can float? Answer. Lithium. Question 6. What plant is known as the giant panda's diet? Give me answer in comment section. Like and follow.